Okay, hello and welcome to Ethereum Classic Community Call number 39. It's been a while since our last call, about 9 months, but we thought we'd have a bit of a catch up for 2024 at the end of the year to see what's going on, looking forward to the next year in ETC. We have a few topics this week to chat about, including the ETC co-op updates, the Ambassador program, and DevCon 7 reflections. So this call is being recorded and will be on YouTube. And if anyone wants to jump in and discuss the topic, feel free to do so. So we'll start off with the the ETC co-op update, which was an article posted by Bob Summerwill last week, I believe, titled Staffing Changes and Q2 and Q3 Reports, which can be found on the ETC co-op website. The TLDR is that basically Bob is announcing his departure as the director of the ETC cooperative, a role which he held since January 2019. So that's 5 years of excellent service by Bob. So thanks to him for that dedication that has been contributed to ETC project. And he will be missed from the ETC co-op, I guess. And we'll see how things progress without Bob. But we'll surely have a bright future nonetheless for the Ethereum Classic project. So additionally, in that post, it was mentioned that there is a remaining runway for ETC co-op of about 3 years, I believe. So 2027 September at current market rates of runway, which is about 2 million USD, I believe. And also there's a number of other people leaving ETC co-op, including, I believe, Donald McIntyre, who's on this call, and some other members of the ETC co-op, which leaves a couple of core developers remaining as full-time. So, Donald, as you're here, did I get that right? And do you have anything to add to the discussion that we can start talking about?
Yes, you got that right. And in particular, my last day at the ETC cooperative is December 31st. So it's another 10 or 12 days. And the ETC cooperative, Bob had told us in February of March of 2024 that the funds were depleting, and the cooperative had a large donation from Grayscale during 2021, during the 2021-2022 bull market, because the donations were in ETC, so they translated into larger and larger amounts of dollars. And it was $5 million and the ETC cooperative have been living of that money. And it came to a point the beginning of 2024 where they were starting to think, okay, this money, we're continuing to burn it, so at some point we're going to have to reduce the staff. So it's not something that was sudden or unplanned. It was part of the plan. No. And in the last quarter, then Bob told us that a rational move would be to start reducing some of the activities that were not core. So editorial, of course, had to go, and marketing was reduced to 50%, to part-time. Back office and administrative to part-time. Then social media, tweets, and all that um, was cut, and also no more events. So the two people that were always working on the events, the proof of work summits, 2023 and 2024. After the proof of work summit, they were cut as well. So I think it's just a rational, most good management of the money of the ETC cooperative. And I in my personal opinion, my particular case, I always knew that editorial in any organization is something that you have to cut first if you're short of money. No, you have to keep doing your main product in any corporation, or in a nonprofit you have to provide your main service. So I thought it was perfectly all right. The only difference that is that actually Bob, he decided to also leave the co-op. That's the real thing that was unplanned, and that this is something personal of Bob. It is true. He's right. I mean, the cost of the executive director himself is very high. The board, they don't get any income. So, but the executive director is also a cost for the ETC cooperative. So his departure is going to reduce the burn rate significantly as well. And so we had reduced the burn rate from 150,000 to 100,000. And when I leave, Bob leaves, and everything is reduced to its minimum expression. In January, the burn rate is going to be reduced to 75,000. So that's where what you say is Torah, um, is true. With the $2 million that are left, a little bit more than $2 million, at a burn rate of 75,000, I think we have, um, let me see, 28 to 30 months of runway.
I see. And that's based on the current ETC price, which of course may
Yeah,
go up or
that's
down.
that's based on a conservative price of 25. But
Okay.
yeah, when it went up to 40, like a few weeks ago, we were like, okay, the money's all back. We can all
Okay.
come and we can come and back, and this is going to 100, and then 200, and then 1,000. Um, but no, the approach is conservative. Now it's down to 29. So yeah, the taking into account the 67,000 ETC that ETC cooperative holds, plus the cash at 20, and the ETC at 25, we have 28 to 30 months of runway currently.
I see. I see. And basically, when you say, I guess core maintenance, that would be developers and I guess some basic management.
Yes, but no, the purpose of the ETC cooperative is is very well defined. And the people in charge now are the board of the ETC cooperative. No, bueno, Bob is in charge until October 31st, but the people in charge of making the decisions of how the ETC cooperative and how it's going to look like, and the shape and what's going to do are the board of directors, who are Elaine O, Roy Zhu, Cody Burns, and Craig Salm. No, Craig Salm works for Grayscale. And they have very clear that the purpose of the ETC cooperative is to maintain the protocol, the base protocol of ETC. That's the most fundamental thing, activity, I think, in the whole ecosystem. Then to maintain the client itself, the client is core Geth. And then to maintain the most basic infrastructure that some other people do, but the ETC cooperative does at least three things that are very important. One is to maintain the ETC Block Scout instance as the main block explorer. Then it has the endpoint that it delegated to Rivet, and it pays Rivet, and it's the most important endpoint. Everybody uses that endpoint. So that wallets, etc., when they need to send transactions or check balances, etc., they usually use that endpoint. And then they have ETC Cooperative is running four enormous nodes of ETC that they serve as boot nodes, and they also connect with thousands of peers. Um, so they serve to provide a lot of information. For example, the ETC nodes website information comes from those 4 nodes to be able to identify all the nodes and count them, etc. So we know that we have 4,000 nodes, 6,000 nodes. At any time, we know how many nodes are operating in etc because of those 4 nodes. And then there's a layer of communications. No, that's why I was doing editorial, and there's a marketing person still working at the etc cooperative, and is going to be communicating minimal, going to do minimal communications work. In my case, when I was working at the etc cooperative, my mission was to communicate how amazing etc is to the world. No, um, but now that's going to be transformed into minimal communications.
Right, understood. Yeah, there's a number of, I guess, infrastructure projects, technology that is under the umbrella of ETC Co-op in terms of maintenance and deployment ongoing. Um, that would also include the Catacomb wallet and, as you mentioned, the Rivet and Block Scout stuff. So, uh, with
Yeah,
this extended runway, or I guess whether it's extended or not, or just like streamlined funding program, then those services have a longer guaranteed uh,
yeah,
funding mechanism.
yeah. Everything that is the basic infrastructure is going to continue. That's the priority, no? So as funds go diminishing, we're gonna keep cutting because what we want to provide is, or what they want to provide is, protocol maintenance to be on par with Ethereum, and the client itself, so that people can run the node, and then the basic infrastructure. So that's going to be um, the highest priority.
Right. Cool.
And
So
the
yes,
current state then is that we're going to migrate to that smaller team in January, and the organization is going to stay on in that mode for the foreseeable future.
understood. And is there? I guess there's probably discussions going on about leadership and whether there'll be a new director or how that's going to go, but whether it's public or not, if it's uh, TBD, I would guess.
Yes, it's not public, but the board is deciding how they're going to organize the team and who's going to lead, and things like that, details like that. I think the deadline to to define the final structure of the ETC cooperative is going to be January 31st. But
Okay,
that those are all, it's more like housekeeping. In terms of infrastructure and priorities, the money's there. I mean, this is something that I told them, that we're not in a panic mode, that like a startup. I've been in many startups. I had my own startups. I had 4 startups, and I have run out of money with my startups. And you are in a panic mode because you're running out of money in 30 days. So you need to see how you're going to pay your salaries. You're going to fire the staff, pay all the severance payments, taxes. If you have any bills payable, that's an emergency shutdown. In this case, there's years of runway, and we're just scaling down. So it's not an emergency situation. It's just a more efficiency. I would say I would even say that this is responsible. This is the right thing to do.
right, right.
Um,
There's kind
yeah.
of diminishing returns on the amount that you can spend on things like events and promotion,
Exactly.
that kind of stuff.
Everything that is in a way nice to have, like events, that is $75,000 of cost, just a 2 day event, um, and editorial and market, digamos, um, more flashy marketing and things like that. That is not going to, and travel everywhere and things like that. That is going to be cut. Um, Then I have my personal opinion about something. I don't know if you want me to
Please.
tell you my personal opinion. This is something I told the ETC cooperative before leaving, and I think that it should be done. And that is that the history of Ethereum Classic, the maintenance, this core function of the maintenance of the protocol and the client, um, started with a group of developers who decided to keep maintaining the original Ethereum, and Ethereum Classic continues to be the original Ethereum, and that team was later called ETC Dev. Then came another team called ETC Labs, which was a private company that they decided to fund development, and and um, and they moved the client in a controversial move from the Ethereum Classic repository for the Ethereum Classic organization on GitHub to their own corporate GitHub repository and organization, no? ETC Labs. And then they left, and IOH came, and they tried to do their own client. And then when everybody when IOHK left and ETC Labs left, then the ETC cooperative continued development, maintenance of the protocol, and development of the client. But all this time, it was moved from the Ethereum Classic organization to ETC Labs, and it's been there all this time. And that's Core Geth. And Core Geth is the client that everybody uses in the Ethereum Classic ecosystem. I think that as one of the goals of the ETC cooperative should be to return the client to the Ethereum Classic organization. Um, I know, it's just a kind of administrative housekeeping thing, but in terms of meaning and an image of Ethereum Classic to the world, I think it's very important to do it. Um, First is to redeem Ethereum Classic from that attack, that historic attack that doesn't exist anymore, but it's to show the resilience of ETC. And second, because Bitcoin is in the Bitcoin repository, and Ethereum is in the Ethereum repository, and Ripple is in the Ripple repository, and Solana is in the Solana repository. Only ETC is in some XYZ repository. It has to be in Ethereum Classic. I think that's serious. That shows seriousness and professionalism, which is very important to project. No, so that's my only thing that I left as a message.
Yeah, I would say I'd agree with that. I guess there's a couple of ways of doing it. One would just be forking and then continuing in the Ethereum Classic repo or org repo. And the other would be transferring the ownership from labs to the org. And the latter would be preferable, but I guess requires more coordination.
Yeah. Bueno, I think that the 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 core developers of the ETC cooperative, they proposed, I think, a clever way of doing it, which was, for now, keep maintaining it at the ETC Labs repository, and in the next hard fork, when the whole ecosystem has to migrate to the new one, that hard fork to do it with a client already in the Ethereum Classic repository, so that everybody has to switch from one repository to the other
Mm.
um, at once. And I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, that would most likely work. And if the links on the website were updated, that would be doable. The only downside with the forking approach is that the issues and the pull requests, I guess, will be lost and remain on the old labs org repo. So, I mean, I would say that the proposed switch on next hard fork is a good solution, but not perfect. But will be better than nothing. Better
Yeah,
than the current situation.
yeah. I think that the community could define whether this is important for us, and I think that it really bothers me that the main client and the flagship client of ETC is in a private corporate XYZ repository and not in the one that is the name of Ethereum Classic, and where
Right.
the ECIP process is, and where the website is, and where the whole community works. So I think if the community values this change, we can communicate it to the cooperative and see if they do it eventually in the next hard fork.
Do you know when the next hard fork is estimated?
No, and it depends on what Ethereum is going to do. I think that we are up to date with Ethereum, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't know when is the Ethereum next hard fork. I've been focusing more on the market and on the benefits of ETC rather than the Ethereum hard fork. So I don't know. I know there's one, but I don't know when it's going to be.
Right. Similar topic, I guess, is that in that post on ETC co-op with staffing changes, Bob mentioned that there are potential challenges with Geth maintenance going forward, and uh, they're looking at maybe the devs are looking at with fresh eyes on Besu, Aragon, and Nethermind as alternatives for long-term maintenance due to the difficulties of maintaining Geth when upstream has removed the proof of work code
Yes.
paths.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something to talk to the developers, but the complexity of maintaining the client increased because before you would just get from the upstream from Go Ethereum, you would get the code and it included proof of work. Now they stripped it out. So from now on, um, the core developers of Ethereum Classic have to receive from the upstream something that does not have proof of work, and they have to reintegrate it each time. Um, so that's an additional work or challenge in maintenance. So the two strategies, what Bob meant there is, okay, we can continue maintaining an independent client, core Geth, with all of these challenges and the work that it requires, etc. Or we can go to an upstream client like Hyperledger Besu or Nethermind or Go Ethereum and ask them for us to integrate the rules of ETC there, um, and the rules of ETC live there inside an upstream client instead of us maintaining the independent client. I think that ETC that's being considered. I think that the what's going to prevail is to keep maintaining the independent client, but that's being analyzed, or maybe the two in parallel, just as a hedge.
Right.
I think that we have to just keep maintaining the core Geth client, put it back in our repository for the community to gain full control, not the ETC cooperative, the community to gain full control and access to the client. And if for some reason in 10 years the ETC cooperative disappears, the community keeps going, no? Keeps
Right. Right.
maintaining. That's what I think we have to do. And if for some reason the ETC, say that the ETC, this is the year 2027 or the year 2028, and the ETC cooperative say, okay, we have only $100 left in the bank. Sorry, we have to leave. When at that point, the ETC cooperative has to deliver the client working and stable, and then leave, and that's it. As long as it is in the community repository, there's no problem. That's how blockchains work. Developers change all the time. In fact, ETC has had 4 developer teams already. So this happens all the time. You just have to leave the client with the most updated version in a stable condition that people can run it, and then somebody else is going to continue the work. Um,
Right. And
so
generally, even if there are no updates, the chain will still continue to be mined, and it's unlikely there's some critical issue that
Exactly.
that's going to occur.
Yeah. For example, yeah, bueno, always from a developer perspective, when you talk to the developers, they're not going to have that opinion. Their opinion is going to be that they worry that there's something wrong, that there may be a bug, and you discover it in 2 years, and we didn't know, and we thought that it was stable, and then there's no one to fix it. I think that's another, digamos, digamos, it's a reasonable posture, no?
Yeah, but it's also
But
more likely that developers will jump in, and if they notice something that can be fixed, they'll be like, "Oh, let's patch this before it
yes,
becomes an issue."
yeah, yeah. This is one thing that I explained to the board of the ETC cooperative. We don't have to think that ETC cooperative is the savior of ETC.
Right.
Um, and without us, then Superman doesn't exist and the world is going to collapse. No, ETC is going to continue. We just have to do a good job delivering it. We just have to do a good job maintaining the basic infrastructure as we are doing now. We still have money. There's no emergency. And if for some reason uh, the ETC cooperative is going to cease, then at that time just deliver a stable client in the ETC cooperative repo, and somebody else is going to take care of the client in the future. Um, that's the mission, to deliver it to the community in a stable condition.
Yep, and I think that's a perfectly legit approach, and anything that can extend the lifespan of that delivering that is probably a good thing. And as we're
Yeah,
seeing, there's already other, and there's constantly other teams stepping up and filling the void
yeah,
of
exactly.
whatever kind of thing that needs to be done. Uh,
That's a very important thought because it's difficult to see. Currently, the ETC cooperative is filling a void, and because the void is filled, then there's no other client developers who want to come and work. Why? Because the void is filled. When in marketplaces, in industries, when somebody is already the leader, for example, in electric vehicles, there may be other competitors that become second, third, and fourth. But once you have a group of companies filling the void, there's no more investment in trying to compete anymore. It doesn't make sense to spend more money competing in that industry. And the same thing happens in open source. Once you have a good team of developers managing a system, then why would other developers come? But if they leave, then there's going to be a void. Then it makes sense for other developers to come, and they will come. And they will come because Ethereum Classic is incredibly valuable. And the developers that actually work at ETC gain incredible, valuable experience, and they become very sought after because of their knowledge. Um, so this is to say that there's no emergency, and that there's going to be someone who's going to fill the void if for some reason uh, development needs to migrate to a new team.
yeah, and I'd say that void is not limited just to development, but also the other things like marketing and education that you were uh, that are being cut to some extent from ETC Co-op, and there are other
Exactly.
avenues that are doing this. You've got the ETC radio stuff. You've got the ambassador program, which is coming up, which I haven't looked into too much, but seems to be promising.
Yes, for example, I already created a video in my blog Etherplan, which is where I used to write and create videos before working for the ETC cooperative, and I am going to. I have a passion for ETC, and I am going to dedicate my time and everything to ETC. So I'm going to continue writing on Etherplan and continue contributing just like before. So that's an example of how the void is filled by others.
That's great to hear. And likewise, I guess this year I've been a little hands off in terms of personal contributions. I've always been volunteering, but I think next year, partially because of this downsizing of ETC Co-op, I feel the void needs to be filled to some extent, and I will try to step up more in terms of my contributions too.
Yeah. You built the ethereumclassic.org website. That is amazing. Um, and that's an incredible project. That's an excellent example of a purely voluntary effort. Um, yeah.
I see that Brolau's in the chat. Are you on the mic, bro?
Hello.
Hey,
Hi, bro. How are
You
you?
hear me?
yeah, we can
I'm
hear you.
good. How are you, Donald?
Very well, thank you.
Um, Nice to hear you again, guys. One quick question that I had. So, if Bob was saying that he may want to follow the path of another client or other clients, what will happen with the 6,000 nodes about made by ETMC? Because there are a lot of them, and I believe that their main nodes are basically running uh, an interface, a vanilla interface for core get, right?
Mm-hmm. Corget is going to continue to exist. It's going to continue being maintained. What they're studying is to get an upstream client that works for Ethereum. For example, Corget is always receives the new rules for the new hard forks from Go Ethereum. That's one of the clients that exist in Ethereum. There's another client called Nethermind, and then there's others like Hyperledger Besu, and
Is
there's other.
Besos still supported by the Linux Foundation?
Yes, that one, Hyperledger.
Yeah.
The Besu, and then there's another one called Aragon, I think, and there's more. So the idea is to go to one of those and integrate etc to ask for permission and to have ask access and to collaborate with a team and to integrate etc into that node, so that node it can run either ethereum or etc as an option, just to have
Mm.
it as a backup in case CoreGeth disappears and people have to migrate to that one. It's only a backup, but CoreGeth is going to continue to be maintained. Therefore, ETCMC is going to continue to have CoreGeth as their client.
Yes, but earlier you were saying about core gets getting more more of an issue when it comes to maintenance because well, proof of work is no longer there in the client that has been built.
Yes.
So would the board think about maintaining the client and hiring more people, or they would just look in another direction? Because this could be an important topic, right?
The decision now is that the ETC cooperative with the two core developers, they are going to maintain CoreGeth even if proof of work was taken out from Go Ethereum.
I see.
Um,
Yeah.
at least for the next hard fork. If for some reason it becomes impossible to maintain, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but there's always going to be a version that is usable for Ethereum Classic. But at least for the next hard fork, we have. I mean, DTC Cooperative is going to be here for more than 2 years, so I think the next hard fork for Geth is going to have is going to do the hard fork and have proof of work, and everything is going to be integrated.
And another thing related to the board, will they decide the next executive director, or is that something they plan next year or right away, or do you have any information about who will lead uh, the ETC co-op?
No, I am not in contact with the board lately, other than the ideas that I gave them. I'm not in contact with them, and I don't know what they're doing. The only thing that I know is that the team is going to be reduced by January 1st, and the spending is going to be reduced from 100,000 to 74,000, and the ETC cooperative is going to stay um, with that burn rate from then on. That's the information that I have up to now. And then uh, I think they're going to decide the final structure of the ETC cooperative by January 31st, but I do not know what is the plan.
Okay,
It's
thank
something
you.
it's something that the
Yeah.
board is deciding. I don't know. It's something that they will decide. But again, what I said before, the board has very clear that the base protocol, the client, and infrastructure are the things that they have to maintain, and the ETC Coop has money, so one way or another, that those are the priorities.
Maybe you also know, has the board express any, let's say, improvements that they would like for the protocol? Because so far we ETC basically um, followed Ether till now, and even the last hard fork mistake was after Ether. Will they continue and on this path, or would they like for maybe a new vision, maybe open grants for EC proposals or stuff like that?
Open grants for what?
EC proposals.
Easy proposals. I didn't understand what kind of proposal.
Yes,
Easy
yes.
ECI.
For the Ethereum Classic improvement proposal.
ECIP proposals.
Yeah.
Um, the I know that the plan of the ETC cooperative is to stay to keep the protocol and the client on par with the Ethereum virtual machine standard. That means whatever hard fork Ethereum does that everybody else has to copy, we're going to copy. There's no, I don't think that there's any plan to do things outside of the central core innovation path of Ethereum.
I would assume
Okay.
that would ensuring that it matches the principles of ETC, in that if
Yes,
there were if there were
yes,
changes that broke old contracts, for example, then um,
yes,
we might consider skipping that one.
yeah. For example, uh, ETC is not going to implement proof of stake, and it's going to keep maintaining proof of work. That's an example of how ETC is going to keep being ETC, immutable, truly decentralized, etc. But if there's a new opcode and that it's necessary, that is going to be integrated. And then if I think that the EIP 1559, the core developers were studying how to integrate it in a way that um, developers can use it, but at the same time that does not burn funds, so that it doesn't change the monetary policy. Things like that. Those are adaptations of innovations in Ethereum that can be adapted to ETC without changing the principles of ETC.
Cool. So on that topic of principles of ETC, I wanted to mention some interesting insights I got from watching the videos of DevCon 7, which occurred last month, I believe. Did any of you watch any of those conference events?
I didn't watch it.
Okay. You may be interested to learn that one of the major themes this year was make Ethereum cypherpunk again. And during the intro of the event, there was a little animation that you might want to look at that included things like Ethereum is immutable, Ethereum is unstoppable, blah blah blah. And the idea is that Ethereum, that there are some people within the main Ethereum projects that are calling out the centralization risk and the takeover of profit-seeking entities, I guess, that are subverting the principles of Ethereum, which I believe are upheld by Ethereum Classic much better than mainnet. So I see it as maybe a potential opportunity for Ethereum Classic to kind of pitch itself in terms of being the original and continuing to maintain those original cypherpunk ideals and having them as primary as opposed to Ethereum mainnet, which is now realizing that those things should have been more important to begin with.
Yeah. I think that the Ethereum Classic community can, how it should be, can communicate to the ETC cooperative what is desirable for future changes. For example, we spoke in the past about um, uh, uh, setting or fixing the block size to 8 million gas potentially, or 12 million gas, so that the block has a fixed size, and miners cannot change it anymore. That would be a different approach than Ethereum.
Right.
Than Ethereum was before, no, where the miner could change the block size and raise it to 30 million gas and things like that. And I think that the ETC community should be the main influence for future changes. I think, for example, there's a huge change that I wrote about called EOF in Ethereum.
Right.
That is a big modification of the EVM. That if Ethereum doesn't do it, I think that the community should pressure or should implement it in ETC, because they're very important changes. And of course, that's because I really see the independence of ETC as very important. But the developers and Bob told me, well, the thing is that it's going to become not compatible with Ethereum temporarily until Ethereum implements EOF. And that's true. So if Ethereum takes 2 more years to implement EOF, ETC is not going to be compatible with Ethereum for those 2 years. And then the other risk is that Ethereum, by the time Ethereum implements EOF, they may implement a different version of EOF. And in that case, we're going to have to do another hard fork and realign with Ethereum. But bueno, it's just an example of things that I think the community should voice and mark the future direction of of um, of innovation and development of ETC, always with the principles of the cypherpunk principles of immutability and trust minimization. That Ethereum has, my observation, what occurs to me, that Ethereum has a subculture or a subgroup that is trying to bring back the cypherpunk principles to Ethereum is very important because there is a growing concern in the Ethereum community that Ethereum has become centralized. I mean, very delayed, no? Because we know that the day that they migrated to proof of stake, Ethereum died. It's dead. Why? Because it's a centralized fiat system. They just don't know it. And people don't know it. The great majority of the public were buying Ethereum and they are doing the ETFs and they're building layer 2 systems and all that on Ethereum and wallets and thinking and doing NFTs and all that. They don't know that Ethereum is dead because they don't know anything about this technology. 99% of the people of the world don't know anything of how this technology works and the principles and all that. The only way they're going to learn is when they confiscate their funds in Ethereum and they fork their app and they can't use it anymore and they get censored and then they're going to say, wait a minute, this was not the promise. So this is why there's this concern because they're realizing that Ethereum is really centralized, and I'm very glad that there's people doing that. Uh, and this is the basis of why I think that at some point it's going to be widely known that Ethereum is dead and that they have been working all these years in a dead system. Dead meaning it's centralized, no?
Right.
And I think that Ethereum Classic is going to replace Ethereum. Everybody's going to migrate to ETC because it's the only other viable system live that is there to immediately migrate to.
I believe so
Um,
as well. Yeah,
um,
I think that it may even be the case that a lot of Ethereum people that joined the Ethereum community after the hard fork, after Ethereum Classic was really in a spotlight, they probably don't even know what Ethereum Classic is or why it exists, and
yeah,
it may be a good strategy to actually kind of align Ethereum Classic as not antagonistic to Ethereum, but as a kind of um, almost an ally, if you like, at least to those cypherpunk people. Like we're actually
mm-hmm,
on the same side. It's just that
mm-hmm,
we kind of disagree about the end, the means to achieving that end, and
mm-hmm.
we can persuade you amicably.
Yeah. Well, if there's a, they tell me that to that DEFCON, what was it, DEFCON 7?
Yeah,
They said it was. They told me it was the biggest one. There were 12,000 people, and there's like a subculture in Ethereum that wants to go back to the cypherpunk um, principles. Yes, we can tell them that we are allies. That our strategy is to use Ethereum Classic. That's the truth. Their strategy is to try to change Ethereum, which is a monumental task. It's something that is too costly. It's too big.
right.
Um,
And
to
they're going against people with vested interests that don't want to allow it to be
yeah.
cypherpunk.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, we can go to those people. We can somehow make noise and invite them to see this. There is a real and true objective thing that happens is that the all the liquidity and the network effects are with Ethereum, not with ETC. Um, so it's very difficult and very costly to 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 market ETC to people and expect that it's going to gain market share and become replace Ethereum just by marketing. I think I mean it would cost billions of dollars to explain to the world this and to actually accomplish the switch, to switch the world from Ethereum to ETC. So I think it has to happen organically by Ethereum dying by itself.
I think
It's like when
that's true for the majority of people that are not really interested in the tech or the philosophy, and
mm-hmm,
they will basically just follow whichever is alive and working. But I think
mm-hmm,
there is a small group of genuine believers of cypherpunk philosophy that exist within Ethereum and ETC that cannot really be persuaded by traditional marketing anyway. Like they're not going to
Yeah.
see an advertisement, but they do care about the principle. And I think kind of I'm still working on this idea, but maybe the branding or the narrative could be updated to some extent to try and capture those guys' hearts and minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there could be um bueno, that's a good segment that you caught and that you observed, and it's a segment that we could work on specifically. In my case, for because now as of December 31st, I'm gonna be out of a job and I'm not gonna have a job. I was thinking of getting a sponsor, a donor for Ethereum Classic that would donate to, excuse me, for Etherplan, my brand that works on Ethereum Classic, to get a donation. And because what I do is content and marketing and explaining these things, that's my mission in my life. Is one of the missions in my life is to explain to the world why Ethereum Classic has to replace Ethereum and become the largest blockchain in the world together with Bitcoin. Um, and what I wanted to do is get all the biggest blockchain meetup groups in Vancouver, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, London, Berlin, Shanghai, Hong Kong, etc. And for a year, go to call them, invite, tell them that we donate pizzas and beers and everything, and that we can go and chat for an hour to to their group, no, to all the Ethereum blockchain groups. This is a campaign that I was going to do in 2019 for ETC Dev, but it was canceled because ETC Dev was replaced by ETC Labs. Um, so this is to go in these meetups and explain all the things that I always explain. ETC is the true one. It's the truly decentralized. Ethereum is dead. ETC is going to replace it. Why? Because these are, and I explain my 9 reasons. And usually, when I explain these things in person, people say yes, I'm sold, and sometimes they even buy immediately. They are in front of me. They buy ETC because they are so convinced of the truth.
Right.
Because the truth is the truth. So I wanted to do this tour, and now that you say this, I could focus my tour in that community, in that subculture within Ethereum.
Yeah, and I think the meetup groups are much more likely. They have a higher ratio of true believers compared to just you know in it for the money
Yeah,
people, I believe.
yeah.
And
Some
I
groups have
genuinely think that, sorry, I think that, yeah, when the chain doesn't have massive VC funds, then the type of idea that you just mentioned, like going to meetups, and it's almost like guerrilla warfare, where you have to think
yeah,
outside the box for marketing and
yes,
targeting specific message and persuasion through ideology as opposed to just spending money on ads is definitely, I
yes,
think, the only way we can spread the word.
yes. I agree. So I hope to find a donor, a sponsor soon.
Do you have any targets in terms of raising? And maybe you could do like a fundraise, like like a one man ICO or something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of one is to do a fundraise that starts on, let's say, on January 1st and ends on January 30, and communicate it to the community and that the community contributes. But usually that contribute, when I've done that in the past, I received like $1,000 or 1,500. But to do a world tour, you need $150,000. So we need a big donor, big donors.
I see.
I think I think the cost, what my cost that I calculated in 2019 was $200,000 to do the whole tour for a year. Um, and because this requires me to be dedicated full time to this effort. It's not part time or something like that. And it required the whole ticket, the airline ticket, the hotels, the travel, and donating the food and the drinks to each meetup. Um, and so I guess now with inflation, it must be around $250,000. I would have to do the numbers.
Interesting. Yeah. I think it's a great idea. It's outside the normal approach, and I think
Yeah,
if anyone's able to promote it, it's you.
yeah, yeah. Because a lot of people are talking about ETC, no, Bitmain, for example, and now the ETC cooperative without me, and but they don't know they don't see it the same way. I mean, I see that Bitmain, for example, they repeat slogans and things like that, like you say, like common advertising, but that is not effective. When I explain ETC, people really understand the full logic of the
Right.
of the situation, and the great majority didn't even know that proof of stake was centralized, and they just see, bueno, the people at Ethereum, they say this is decentralized, this is immutable, um, then this is censorship resistant, and it's going to be private, and there's a roadmap, and the roadmap is going to be better and better and better, and they just believe that. Why? Because they don't know, they don't have any notion of these things, and they don't know the principles, and they don't know what technologies actually fit the principles. But when I explain these things, and because I explain it in a layman's terms, people immediately understand the difference and they become ETC. Here in Oklahoma, for example, I have friends that are total ETC buffs. It's funny. It's funny because we're here in the rural areas of Oklahoma, and I have people that are buying ETC, they're mining ETC. Uh, it's like a little island of ETC here, because they hear me all the time. We do a barbecue and I talk to them about what's going on and things like that, and they just see the truth.
That's cool. Yeah, I think you should definitely do that, and hopefully someone hears this and tries
Yeah,
to make it happen.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna see if I can get the donation.
Cool. Well, we are coming up to an hour, which is usually about the time we spend on these calls, and it's nice to hear uh, everyone's voice for the first time in a while, and glad we're able to catch up at the end of this year. Hopefully, we can get on a bit more of a regular schedule in 2025 as the co-op is reducing its output. We can kind of fill the void there and try and brainstorm, come up with ideas of how to make the best of 2025. So yeah, we'll see you all next year. Thanks everyone for coming to this chat, and yeah, see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.